into it later in the day. But let's go across and listen in to Romal Shetty, CEO of Deloitte South Asia at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Listening to what he had to say.
That shift is very important because even in AI, my view is one of our biggest opportunities is AI. It's also one of the biggest disruptors. But in AI, if we start reimagining business models and not just only optimizing things, I think that is where we can take India to the next level.
But you know, all the avenues that you're talking about, Romal, are also extremely capital intensive, right? Do you think both the government as well as India Inc. are ready to loosen their purse strings and spend on that kind of innovation that you just highlighted?
You have to take a leap of faith. So there are two factors. I think one is the uncertainty in the world is so much, so private consumption is becoming a challenge because people want some kind of certainty, because today you deal with a country, you don't know if tariffs are going to be laid on them and they can't trade. So data flow is becoming a problem, money flow is becoming a problem. So there's a lot of challenges. So I think once there's a little bit more clarity and certainty, clarity is very important, then I think you will see the purse strings and some of the investments that you see in data centers and other coming up. Of course, those are global companies that are coming, but India Inc. also is involved in these large ones. So I think it's a question of time, but uncertainty, of course, prevails.
So where do you think the opportunity, or rather India opportunity, lies at this juncture? You talked about a lot of domestic reforms, which are definitely getting consumption back into the economy, but what's left to be done?
Yeah. So I think the ease of doing business, again, India has done a lot, but the ease of doing business should be, you should be able to set up anything in 10 days' time. That's the kind of thing that we should really, really move fast towards. The states are wooing now, but to make it even more attractive, they need to create certain, core spaces. For example, like I'll give you an example of a digital economic zone. So can you create where you have GPU-based data centers, you can have GCCs, you can have power, you can have startups, you can have academia, right? And the startups and academia is also a very important factor, because you see some of the most developed countries in the West have grown because of the academia and startup and the corporate combination. So we need to enable that to happen much faster, innovation to happen much faster, R&D to happen much faster.
But again, it all comes back to whether or not that kind of capital expenditure will take place for all these innovations that you talked about. Do you think the private sector will take that leap of faith and analyze that this is the need of the hour, these are the avenues that we need to focus in on, and will they spend? That really is the question.
So, even if you see some of the early days, right? You see telco, for example, as an industry, very capital intensive. You had to spend a lot of money, and for many years they didn't make money, right? So it's not that India will not spend. I think it will spend, but yes, we've got to be much more bolder, but having looked at geopolitically the world also, I think it's also being a little bit more careful. I think when any of these happens, you always take a step back, you think twice, you plan twice, though today's planning, you don't know what will happen tomorrow, so you don't know how much to plan for. So I think I have no doubt that India Inc. will spend money. Absolutely.
Right. Romal, you also very rightly highlighted about the entire AI supply chain or ecosystem, if I can call it that. And India, as of now, has made an advent, but it's only restricted to data centers. Where do you think India's AI journey, which up until now has only been an IT services hub, where within the AI piece can we move forward from just data centers, which we're at right now?
My view is really, we're good at, we have a history of mathematics, we have a history of understanding patterns and data sets. So really bringing in that innovation. So what I mean is, can we solve some of the cancer-related problems through the data that we actually have? And India has massive amounts of data, more than probably most countries in the world have. Can we make sense of that? Can we give access to credit? Right? Not because you have already collaterals, but even without collaterals, just based on AI. I think that is the thing, and the future is, can I build newer drugs, for example? So I think the innovation part and the product part, not just the services, but product plus services, is probably where India needs to also move in.
So you're quite excited about healthcare, clearly, right?
Healthcare, clearly, because you just think, all of us have had somebody in the family go through a difficult thing. And if you can solve some of it, which you can solve, earlier you couldn't solve without AI and agentic and Gen AI, you can actually solve this much faster. So I think that is where, and also financial services, I really think that's one of the biggest areas for India.
How do you see the, sort of future of work evolving in India and globally, given that hybrid models, automation, and everything is changing so fast and it's been so dynamic?
So one of the things that we really believe is AI has to be sort of human-led and AI-powered, right? So that's really what we think. So how do you skill people to work with machines, whether it's humanoids, robots, or whether it's digital assistants? I don't think we're doing enough from that perspective. Second is the newer generation probably wants to do a lot more on purpose. They're not like saying, hey, I want a career and I want to spend all my life in a particular place. So I think you've got to look at how the intergenerational workforce is also changing and how are you reskilling people. The reskills means that are you able to frame a problem better, right? Are you able to prompt better, right? Rather than, and are you able to do judgments better? I think those are, and curiosity, those are skills that are required, which are different from saying, I want you to do 5 things and do those 5 things well.
So what is your assessment, and let's get a little myopic here, about how business sentiment is on ground in India?
See, I mean, I'll take 2 parts to it. One, like I said, globally, that everybody is seeing, and that everybody, every day there's a challenge. So, there can't be anybody who says that I'm pretty comfortable with what's happening. Nobody is, right?
Yeah.
As far as just India is concerned, I think our consumption levels are increasing. If you see per capita slowly increasing, and my belief is that when the per capita goes at about 3,500 to 4,000, then the consumption is not going to be linear. It's going to be much faster than the growth of per capita. So I think that is also what people are looking. We've got another 100, 200, 300 million people coming into the middle class, upper middle class. That will create massive amount of demand. So in the long run, very positive. Short run, we have some challenges, but still, I still think we're standing out comparatively to all other countries.
So let's talk about, what the short term actually entails. And let's talk about India earnings growth. And let's also talk about all that the government has done in terms of reforms and whether that can act as a catalyst to consumption growth.
I mean, clearly look at, for example, when GST rationalization happened, there were a lot of quarters which said that basically we're going to lose GST revenues dramatically. The government coffers will come down, but GST has only gone up, right?
Yeah.
So labor code has just happened. There's so many MSMEs. Forget the big corporate, right? But you look at MSMEs. MSMEs are very scared today to hire because there are lots of laws about hiring and firing people or hiring for demand. This is going to now ease a lot of people. So we'll see a lot of micro entrepreneurs. And India is a country of a lot of micro entrepreneurs. It's not just only state-run businesses, it's a lot of micro. So I do think that this is an opportunity we should take, not to say, hey, the world is, whatever it is, to say that really unleash reforms. The second generation of all reforms across, like I said, credit. I do think credit is one place where if people have access to credit, entrepreneurs have access to credit, right? I think you'll just see the country booming. Absolutely. So those are some of the reforms that will continue. And I think that's what India is doing, actually, taking this opportunity to change some of the laws and compliances. I mean, we have a lot of compliances still.
Okay, so that's the word coming in on ground from Davos. But let's refocus once again, talk about the market and a stock to watch out for, particularly tomorrow.